Hey guys, today I'm going to be taking you on a detailed tour of Nitrogen's current setup in the Petri dish cage. In case you're unfamiliar with this cage, it is my own DIY. I have two videos showing how I built it, one showing how I built the base, the other showing how I built the lid, and I also have videos showing how I built the beaker beneath it and the test tube over there in case you're interested in those. Here's a quick overview of what it looks like above. Now this enclosure is home to my new winter white dwarf hamster Nitrogen, and it is approximately 1,600 square inches. It's about 11 AM, so right now Nitrogen is fast asleep down here in his multi-chamber hide, so I'm not going to disturb him. I'm going to let him snooze away, and I'm just going to show you around the enclosure. So we might as well start from this side since we're here. The substrate I have over here is coconut chippings. This originally came in a block that cost me about €4, and you soak it in water for about 20 minutes and then it expands to a lot more substrate. You do have to let it dry out before you put it in the enclosure, but it adds a nice extra bit of texture and a difference of colour as well, which I think just makes any enclosure look a little nicer. So in the coconut area we have a couple of toys for Nitrogen to play with. We have this hide and seek log, which is one of my favourite toys for dwarf hamsters. They're so hard to get your hands on now though, and when you do find them, they are oh so expensive these days. This is what it looks like. It's just a log with lots of holes in them. Then down here we have this carrot chew, which when I bought it I didn't realise it was going to be quite as big as it is, but it's nice, you know, he can have a munch on it if he wants to. We have a simple terracotta pot. This is a smaller sized one, just from the gardening section of probably Jumbo, I would think. These terracotta pots are great because they stay very cool, which is perfect for this time of year. And above it we have a piece of driftwood. This is kind of for aesthetics, but also it's something that Nitrogen can climb on if he wants to. Over in the back corner we just have a simple small grass nest. This can be hidden in, it can be ripped apart and used as nesting material, whatever he wants. And of course, one of my enclosures wouldn't be complete without at least a couple of bendy bridges. So we have one that acts as a ramp up on top of the multi-chamber house, which, by the way, there will be a tutorial for how to make this house coming up in July. I will be doing DIY July again this year, so look forward to that. The water bowl has been relocated since you guys last saw me set up this cage. I've actually made a couple of changes. You might have noticed in the overview I've moved just a couple of things around, but his water bowl is down this end now just because he has decided to sleep in the chamber house. I just felt safer having his water closer by. It does need topping up today. I haven't cleaned it out yet. I'll do that after this video. Now this isn't really an ideal size for a hamster's water dish. You don't really want them having anything that's big enough that they can climb inside, but right now I don't have my very tiny water dish because unfortunately it got broken, so this is what I have to work with. So instead I have put pebbles inside, which will discourage him from climbing in the water and make sure that he just uses it for drinking. Next to that I have a DIY wooden wheel, which once again the tutorial for this will be coming up in July. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It looks pretty cool. It looks nice, I think. Now some people were worried about Nitrogen urinating in this. Unfortunately, that is just something you have to deal with if you choose to have a wooden wheel. Urine happens. I have tried to protect the inside of this so that if he does urinate on it, it should be somewhat easier to clean, but because it is a DIY wheel, if it does get wrecked, I can literally just pull off these lolly sticks and put new ones on. It's not a big deal for me. Behind the wheel in this back corner is another plant pot, but this one is made with natural bark. It's made completely from wood. I bought this in Jumbo. They sell it in two sizes and I have both sizes in this enclosure. And I just thought this was a nice little addition for this corner. I wasn't really sure what to do with it, so shove a hide in there, that'll work. In front of that we have a couple of spider plants, which not only provide great coverage and a great place for your hamster to hide, but they're also safe to be nibbled on. They'll add a few extra nutrients to their diet and they look really lovely, at least I think so. Now the coconut area is separated off from this back bit with a line of bendy bridges, and I know some people were concerned because there is this risk that you get when turning bendy bridges on their side, that if you use ones with gaps in the middle, for example like this, if I turn it on its side, you can see there's a big gap in the side of this bridge where two of the logs aren't flush with each other. Now if I were to use this bridge on its side, it would pose the risk that the hamster could get their leg caught in there, and that has been a very serious thing that's happened to some people's hamsters. So if you are going to put logs on their side, please make sure that you check to make sure all of the logs are flush with each other. Make sure there's no big gaps like that where your hamster could get their leg caught or could get injured. Moving on from that little safety warning into the second half of the enclosure where I'm using a different substrate. So over here I am using soil, which you can buy from any supermarket that sells gardening things or any garden centre, but you do need to make sure when you're purchasing it for an animal's enclosure, at least for a hamster's enclosure, that you're buying soil that does not contain chemical fertilizers. Natural fertilizers like bone meal should be fine, but avoid anything that has chemical additives to it. I also want to address these little white pebbles that you find in some soils. Some people mistakenly think these are fertilizer. They're not. They're actually perlite, which is a natural mineral. It's also called volcanic glass, and it's perfectly harmless. On to the actual setup. I think this part might be my favorite area of the enclosure, just this view right here, where we have the larger bendy bridge, which is hidden away behind the plants for a little extra security and privacy. Then we have another spider plant here looking very, very healthy. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention, but these spider plants have little pebbles in the pot, and this is just to discourage nitrogen from digging in the roots and killing or harming the plant. I have a whole video that I posted not long ago talking about using plants in hamster cages, including using spider plants. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out that video. Anyway, behind the spider plant, we then have another one of these natural looking plant pots made from tree bark, just like the one over in that corner, but this one is much, much bigger. I've half buried this one under the substrate, and I've also placed some driftwood around the back and also some leaf litter on top here, just to create sort of a natural, almost decaying look in this corner. Now you might have already spotted in the front here, Nitrogen has already started building himself a burrow, which I am so proud of. He's not had the opportunity to build burrows before, so this is his first ever burrow, and I'm so excited to see if he makes it any bigger. This is the first entrance for it, and this is the second entrance over here. I would presume those two join up, but whether it goes any further than that underground, I do not know. Perhaps I'll get one of those cameras on a wire and we might explore it one day. Maybe, we will see. While using soil definitely does have some downsides to it, one of the upsides is that it's very, very easy for your hamster to build burrows in, especially if you make sure you pack it down really hard when you put it in the enclosure. You want to make sure you push all that soil down, and that'll help clump it together so that these burrows will stay nice and sturdy. So in front of that we have a PVC pipe which has been buried underneath the substrate. This is a larger sized one. This would actually fit a Syrian. If you were looking for Syrian sized tubes, try looking at the very large PVC pipes they sell in hardware stores. Here is yet another bendy bridge so Nitrogen can easily get from the coconut area to the soil area, and at the front here is the entrance to an artificial burrow. So what is an artificial burrow? It is simply a multi-chamber long tunnel with little doorways that go into each chamber that you just hide underneath the substrate. I made this from wood. It's very, very simple. I'm not sure you really need a tutorial for this. It's just one piece of wood on the top, one piece of wood on the back, and 4 smaller pieces with doorways cut into them to get to each chamber. It's very simple, very straightforward. And I've got it at the front here so we can see him digging around when he is playing in here. Directly above that burrow is half of a terracotta pot for hiding under. And then over here we have his fresh food dish. Now I am scatter feeding his dry food, which is why he doesn't have a dry food dish. But this one is for his vegetables and his fruit and anything else that you wouldn't want to scatter feed. Now this is the area of the cage that I've changed the most since the setup video. I was happy with it at the time, but a couple of days later I decided that, you know what, I feel like it would be nicer this way around. So we have the sand bath at the front here. Since it does have a glass front to it, I felt it made a lot more sense for it to be at the front where I could actually see him playing around in the sand. By the way, this is a DIY, but again, I did not film this one this time around because it is pretty straightforward. It's just a wooden box with a glass wall. This glass wall was made using the glass from an old photo frame. The ramp has just been made, again, piece of wood with some thin dowels. These are actually kebab sticks that I've cut down and just stuck to make the ramp. and then children's play sand in the bottom. Next to that we have a DIY shelf, which again, very straightforward, just a piece of wood with 4 pieces of wood to act as legs stuck to the bottom of it. That's buried very, very deeply in the substrate and acts as a great hiding spot for him. He loves hiding underneath there and burrowing underneath there. We've got another bendy bridge acting as a ramp to get up and down from that shelf. And we have the little, I think this was by Trixie or Rosewood. I bought this quite recently. It's just a tiny little dwarf-sized cottage, which I have stuck the number 7 on. In case you don't know what that's all about, I named my hamsters after chemical elements from the periodic table, and each of those elements has an atomic number, which I usually stick that atomic number to the front of one of their houses, so it's like a little door number for them. Joined to the wall in a homemade bottle stand, he has a Living World glass water bottle. Now, some people were wondering why I have both a bottle and a bowl for the water. That is mainly for my peace of mind more than anything else. When I first bought Nitrogen home, he didn't really understand how to use his new bottle. It was a slightly different design to the one that he had with his previous family, and I was a little concerned for him not picking up quick enough, and it's the middle of the summer right now. It is very, very, very hot. So I gave him a bowl as well, just to make sure he was getting water, and he took to it immediately, and he definitely preferred it over his bottle. So because he so clearly prefers the bowl over the bottle, I decided I wasn't going to take it away. I was going to keep giving him a water bowl, but because we live, as mentioned, in a very hot country, small amounts of water evaporate very, very quickly, and I am very frightened of him running out of water in the night if it evaporates, or if it runs out when I'm out during the day. I do check the bowl and top it up twice a day, and I change it out for clean water every single day, which helps to keep on top of that, but it's a big fear of mine. The last thing I want to happen is for him to run out of water, so I put the bottle in as well to make sure that even if that does happen, he does have a source of water to drink from. So moving on, over here now we have another hide in this back corner. This is a round log hide that I've had for many, many years. I think I got it from Viovet, but I don't know if they sell it anymore, so I'm not really sure where you could get it. And on top, just for texture and aesthetics, it is covered in some dry sphagnum moss. You can buy pet safe moss in the reptile section of pretty much any pet shop, but make sure if you get it in a bag and it's already wet that you let it dry out first before giving it to a hamster. Finally, just down here we have one more hideaway. Again, this is something I bought quite a few years ago. I think it was from Viovet, but I have no idea if they still sell it, so unfortunately I don't know where you would be able to get one of these anymore. They're very cute though. So here's one last overview of the enclosure and what it looks like at the minute. I'll definitely be making some minor changes as I get to know Nitrogen a little more, as I get to know his likes, his dislikes, what he prefers to play with, and what he doesn't care about so much. In the meantime though, if you enjoyed watching this video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. You can also share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!